coliseums for entertainment with swords and weapons. And guess what? They're still doing a lot of these things. What if I told you, this about to be crazy to some, that they have underground gladiator events and stuff like that, but with beings that aren't even in human descent? That some beings are different type of beings and cryptids and stuff that they put in wars and stuff like that. All right. Now, some of the information I get, I promise you, on some real time, the Akashic Records is a lot where I get a lot of information that has been removed from the Library of Alexandria and Timbuktu. You can see these things. You actually do have the ability of going to the lower realms in certain transcendental states of consciousness. I'm talking about realms where they sell aliens and things of that nature. These beings really exist in different transcendental states of consciousness, where you can go to a bar and stuff like that, where you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, where they be at a bar where different beings and aliens and different extra. This is true. And certain astral projection experiences, you will see this. The concept of the Men in Black, where all these beings are all amongst each other. You see that in different transcendental states of consciousness. I have been in these rooms where I see these different entities. All right. And you ever been in that state when you're asleep, but you're woke, you're in between, where you're right in that resonance, where you're getting downloads or information. Right in between that resonance, oftentimes you can be in these transcendental states of consciousness where you can see things that you typically would never be privy to in this reality. Beings that I have received different information from these different beings, like Star Wars, yes. Star Wars is true. It's all based on Atlantis. Star Wars is based in ancient Atlantis as well as Tartaria. They walked amongst giants. They walked amongst giants. Not even that long ago. Not even that long ago. A lot of the giants and stuff are in subterranean bases. A lot of these beings are in different subterranean bases. There's about 8 different subterranean bases, not including Agartha. And this is including to the Holy Tablets. I was reading, pardon myself. I was reading the Holy Tablets, and I was shown that it was about 8 different caverns, not including Agartha, that different beings could reside in. I'm talking about like your Deros, all right? Now, for those that are unaware of the Deros, these are beings that are pretty much like your, they look like they're obese. They look obese, but they have like an elephant tusk. They long tusks, and they pretty much believe that they what's called cud. They regurgitate their food, and they violent nature beings. These are beings that actually exist in some of the caverns as well. But then you have the Meldekians, which were water type reptilians. Okay, they have webbed fingers and things of that nature. These are the beings that take residence under the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, these are the beings called them there. And then not only that, there's different beings that are actually created from this planet. That this planet. I was doing a lecture not too long ago, and one of the brothers made mention that planet Earth, planet Tiamat, does create a lot of beings, and that's true. All right, a lot of the beings that they made mention of being dinosaurs and all of that, the evolution concept is true. A lot of these beings evolve out of different beings. I'm gonna share some information with y'all. Actually, some very powerful information. All right, so this is the Holy Tablets. Now, there's a lot of different species of monkeys. You ever wonder why there's so many species of monkeys? Orangutan, apes, baboons, so many different species of monkeys. A lot of these different species all came from the eugenics programs, all right? Think about how many different types of monkeys there are. So many that we don't even know them all right? Realistically speaking. And we're talking about mammalian hominids. They actually are pretty much Homo erectus. They stand upright, and some of them are more intelligent than we actually have been led to believe. Actually, in fact, there's a lot of animals that are kept secret from us. And a lot of the eugenics programs, when they're creating these apes and hominids and hybrids, a lot of them are the result of cryptids. Some of these cryptids break away from certain facilities and testing labs, and they actually start mating amongst other cryptids and create these weird offsprings of beings. All right. And the crazy part about it is a lot of us are going to start seeing a lot of these beings now. I'm talking about crazy looking beings. And I'm not trying to scare y'all when I say this, but a lot of you are going to start seeing some crazy, bizarre looking beings. Research Plum Island when you get a chance, if you haven't heard of Plum Island. All right. These deletes I'm talking about mad scientists, cosmic family. I'm talking about making and mixing a bunch of things. So here, before I go too far off point, the Australopithecus. This is the Australopithecus. This is the concept of the evolution story. All right. These were not just evolution. Some of these were eugenics testing programs that were being conducted in order to create these various hominids. All right. Now, I'm going to go through some of these hominids and explain exactly what transpired. We're going to get into this. All right. So hold on. I'm going to flip my camera. I'm going to go through some of this with y'all. All right. Bear with me. All right. So now check this out. It says the dinosaur people. This is a depiction of the intelligent dinosaurs who were evolving into humans. All right. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this. A lot of people do not talk about this. We're going to get into some information that y'all may have not heard. All right. So let's get into this. All right. So alongside the dinosaur, you had the evolutionary humans. All right. Amongst the different species of evolutionary human, you have the Australopithecus. There were two forms of Australopithecus that could walk and were erect. Their brain was 1/3 the size of a modern human brain. The smaller one stood about 4 feet tall and weighed between 50 to 120 pounds. This was your original pygmy, Kishite, or Hawthite tribe, which your mother Hawa, Eve, okay, hold on now, mother Hawa, Eve, okay, so that was Eve's name, Hawa, Eve came from. They had 9 ether hair. The larger ones were 7 foot and weighed 222 to 250 pounds. This was your original Watusi, Kuthite tribe, which Cadman, Adam, came from. So Adam was Cadman. Okay, follow me. They had 8 ether hair. They were the giants in the earth. All other humans had 6 ether hair. As other animals of this planet Earth, 9 ether hair is a symbol of an extraterrestrial being. Okay? All animals and humans on this planet have 6 ether hair. Catman Zakar, also known as Adam, was also a mixture of Hindu, the original black man mixed with the Shaggy, which is another set of beings that were coming to Earth from the Sirius star constellation. All right? These Shaggies were not your hairy Bigfoot creatures. They came from the planet Iduma and the constellation of Sirius. Along with these Shaggies, the Greys also came from the same star constellation, from Zeta Reticuli, called Sirius B for biological entity. 124, the Ramadians called Greys. Okay, so the Greys were also called Ramadians, cosmic family, came from the planet Pleiades and Arcturus. When the Nibiru passed by Sirius B, its presence drained the energy from the sun and caused the great star Sirius B to collapse. Sirius A had 2 planets. The Narians, an independent species of Greys, were on one planet, and the Nomos, reptilians, were on the other. Both planets rotated around Sirius A. So when their sun died, the Narians followed Nibiru through the Milky Way. While in pursuit, these beings, the reptilians, chased the Greys. The Ramadians, who also lived on Sirius because they wanted to rule over them and use them as slaves. Okay, so the Draconians, we see the reptilians was basically persecuting everybody, even the Greys. Okay, some of the Ramadians came down to the planet Earth from Zeta Reticuli. Both beings, the Nomos and the Ramadians, took residence on planet Tiamat Earth. When the reptilians came, they tried to appeal to the Meldekians, okay, also known as the Troglodytes, that were living in the seas from the crash down. Okay, so remember I told you the Meldekians and aka the Troglodytes were living under the Bermuda Triangle. That happened years ago because they were their seed. However, these Meldekians who lived beneath the seas of the planet Earth had a very violent nature. Okay, the reptilians had to take residence in caverns beneath the surface of the Earth or in deep swamp areas in the planet Earth. They set out to conquer the Ramadians. Okay, remember the Ramadians are the Greys and take rule over them because of their passive nature. Some of the Ramadians came down to the planet Earth from Zeta Reticuli. They went directly to the original Pygmy tribe of Bushmen in South. Hold on. In South Africa, who were the Kushites, and the Hawthites. Okay, so the Hawthites are descendants from Eve, okay? They live amongst these beings, and the Ramadians taught this tribe of the Anunnaki and of the beings from the star Sirius. The Cushites and the Hawthites became a mixture of these supernatural beings or extraterrestrial beings. All right. These supernatural beings are the Ramadians Greys that existed in the Nile River of the barren, sad, rocky land of Nuba. They were associated with peace and harmony only. The Pygmies called these supernatural beings Bahar Makut, or river angels. Okay, river angels. Okay, they lived in underwater castles. They were associated with 4 categories of human preoccupations: fertility, cultivation, marriage, and health. Then on the arrival of the reptilians who in pursuit of the Ramadians who crashed down amongst the Dogon tribes. Okay, the Dogon, we know the Dogon tribes were seeing the Nomos. They were directly in conjunction with these beings and begin to teach them by shadow hours and would retreat to the sea by day. So at nighttime, they was teaching the Dogon tribe, and then in the morning time, they would be back in the water. All right. They told them they were the Nomos who had come to guide them, and they would tell them the location of the secret caves that the agreeable Ramadians dwelled in. Okay. So there was agreeable and disagreeable Ramadians. So all Greys aren't bad. Okay. These Bushmen, the Kishites and Cushites, were of the family of Nakabu, including the Dogon tribe. Today they live in the deserts of Kalahari and what is called Africa today. The Nomos reptilians were called Dogri or Dogri by the Nubians. They were referred to as the ugly water beings. Okay? The reptilians can be seen in daylight. However, they would roam mostly in the deep, dark swamps and the marshlands. All right, so I made a video not too long ago, and I made mention that a lot of the homeless we see, a lot of the homeless and things of that nature that we see, some of them are extraterrestrial biological entities in disguise. A lot of these beings are aware that we wouldn't have the ability or the maturity, I would say, of basically seeing them in a physical form without having judgment. So a lot of them, just like in the Dogon tribe, they would teach them at night. And then by the time in the water, they would go back to the water. Now, a lot of these beings can live and exist in the water, all right? So a lot of these beings are taking residence in the waters. And some of the aquatic beings that they hurt in the mermaids aren't just mermaids. Some of them are these water reptilians and all of that. Again, they're agreeable and disagreeable. And this is what the Dogon tribe made mention of, and why we can't go near dolphins and things of that nature. They were teaching us, all right? They were giving us information, all right? Cosmic information about the celestial luminaries and everything. This is why the Dogon tribe actually had this constellations mapped out way before the telescope was even invented. You feel me? So it's a lot of information. And the Dogon tribe, when they was dancing and doing all of these rituals and all of this was all to commemorate the beings that would come down and teach them. All right? From Sirius A, Sirius B, and Sirius C, which we all are descendants of. All right? Keep in mind that. If you have 9 ether hair, you're basically extraterrestrial. Remember it. All right? We didn't come from here. We actually came from all over. So if you have 9 ether woolly hair, all right, you're extraterrestrial. Remember that. This is important to know. It's not to demean any being, because this whole planet was a large testing facility. So all of us do derive from source. It's just important to understand the science of the cosmology of everything and where we actually come from. All right? It's important to know these things. All right, so let me see here. I'm going to read a little bit more. I'm going to actually delve into a little bit more of this information here. All right, so here, I'm going to read more of this because this is important. All right, they took on different forms to appeal to the humans. All right, remember that. All right, so the reptilians can be seen in daylight. However, they would roam mostly in the deep, dark swamps and the marshlands. They took on different forms to appeal to the humans. They had a very violent nature which horrified most of these people. They always came out of the shadow hour and hung around date trees. The Dogri enjoy eating the dates of the trees. They also came onto land during the shadow hours to teach and mix with the Dogons. So mix with the Dogons mean that they were interbreeding, all right? They would kidnap the virgins, and rape them to implant their seed. It became a ritual to offer virgins in order to prevent the bloodshed. A negotiator was elected called a Hogos. Every 60 years, they would seek these virgins, all right? So hold on now. Every 60 years, these beings were seeking virgins. All right, so this is the concept of the fallen or the watchers. There's more than just these beings were mixing and intermingling with the virgins of the land. They were taking 60 at a time. This is why when we talk about syndactyl, all right, for those that aren't aware of what syndactyl is, this is the condition where they say you have webbed fingers. All right, most medical conditions are actually extraterrestrial biological genetics mixed with ours. All right, so when you see people like with ichthyosis, they have the reptilian looking skin. They call it ichthyosis. This is because they have more reptilian in their genetics than mammalian. All right. When you see individuals with syndactyl or webbing in between their skin, their fingers, this is because they have maldecilian or troglodyte genetics. All right. These beings were actually intermingling. All right. We're talking about beings from the Dogon tribe, all ugly water beings, and they were attracted to the women on this planet. All right. So this is why it's important to pay attention to this information and learn exactly what was going on. We're going to go into more of it. I'm going to finish reading. All right. I'm going to finish reading more of it. All right. So they would kidnap the virgins, and I got to be careful to implant their seed. It became a ritual to offer virgins in order to prevent the bloodshed. A negotiator was elected called a Hogos. Every 60 years, they would seek these virgins. This in turn led to female child sacrificial rituals. Terrible. To these serpent people. Okay. So remember, most of the things in the Bible were sacrificing all that was really to extraterrestrials. It wasn't to no God. It was to extraterrestrial beings. All right. And this is the same thing that the deletes do today with the children and stuff. Okay. Keep in mind, to these serpent people becoming willing blood sacrifices to what became known as Ha-Satan. Okay. Y'all see that, right? The head of the reptilian tribes, also called Shaitan. This is where Satan came from. All right. Became a common practice and like an honor and a way to appease these malevolent beings. Listen, study the Dogon tribe. The Dogon of Mali in West Africa speak and teach that they have been taught by these two tribes of extraterrestrials to this very day. The reptilians told the people of Nubia that they were lawgivers, and the people called nomos, which is summoned near Samian poison in Syriac Arabic as found in the Quran. All right. And again, I showed you this picture already with them doing their dances. And this is all to pay homage to these beings. Now, personally, I don't believe, I feel like these malevolent beings, they still were subjugating our ascension process. If you ask me, they taught them about calculations in about the Saiju, a 60-year period. All right. And that Saiju, that 60-year period, they also lived in underwater cities linked to caverns deep in the earth. Now, you have 8 caverns occupied by extraterrestrials. This does not include Agartha. I made mention of the 8 caverns. The ruling species of the underworld are many Dawanis, called gnomes, which stand 3 foot tall and have porcupine-like quills protruding from their bodies. They live near lava and other volcanic environments. They live off insects and worms. These are what you call the Littlefoot cosmic family, all right? They look like a Bigfoot, basically, but they littler. They are extremely intelligent, taking pride in mastering all of the science and literature of the surface people. I once met a Dawani who could recite all of William Shakespeare. He knew the best of wines from the 17th century up. He could discuss everything from the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Torah, Sigmund Freud, and the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright, for those that are unaware, pretty much was a lot of Tartarian architecture. And you remember, I broke the word architecture down. Arc is basically associated with light and energy. So the word architecture basically was referring to technology that can give you free power or energy. Whenever you see the word architecture, cosmic family, basically attribute the word architecture to free energy. All right. Arc also can mean something arcing, or arc could basically mean two things coming together to form a discharge. This is Tartarian technology, Atlantean technology. All of that is associated with architecture when you see the word architecture. All right, so let's see here. Where was I at? Architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright. They are extremely friendly and are of no threat to human beings, yet they have no interest in coexisting with human beings on the surface. who they see as killers without purpose. And this is exactly what I talk about. When you get a lot of the humans on this planet, right, they talk about whether extraterrestrials are malevolent or whether they benevolent, I tell them they have a lot of damn nerve because humans kill every animal, every entity on this planet, all right? Next, there's the Samarian Deru, called Ganesha by the Hindus, who are born by hatching from eggs that are 4 to 6 feet in diameter. These are the ones that I talk about that have the elephant-looking tusks. They grow to 7 feet and are extremely obese, having 2 stomachs, and they cheweth the cud. The Samian Deru has no apparent fingernails or toenails, nipples or navel or rectum. They regurgitate their food. Their eyes are light blue. They have blonde eyebrows and pinkish gray colored skin, much like the corpse of a Caucasian. Their home was in caverns beneath Turkey. All right. So if you live in Turkey, it's a very strong possibility that these extraterrestrial biological entities are living underneath you. Having not been exposed to the inner or outer sun, they have no teeth, but their mouth appears to be full of a gummy, slimy substance. They are nocturnal and hear extremely well. They're not very peaceful and have a great dislike for humans. They are very human in appearance, yet far from it. They have a long trunk-like nose, much like an elephant, okay? They contend about the planet Earth is theirs originally, and it will be theirs again one day. The Samian Deru are constantly in conflict with the Dewani, okay? So they always beefing with the Littlefoot, who hold the same faith that they were both the original owners of the planet Earth. While on the surface of the earth, of the other side of the Red Sea, eastward of Eden and Chaldea, the demon beings Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma were coming back and forth to Earth from their star constellation Procyon, the planet Nirvana. For thousands of Earth years, they are savage animals and are also called Chaldea, meaning demons. They became known as the original Asiatics. While all of this was going on, there were different kinds of evolutionary humans, human and behemoth, that were living on this planet Earth in that same era. Also, you had the genus Homo, the Australopithecus. The Australopithecus was a creature who lived many millions of years ago. They differed chiefly in size. There were 2 types of Australopithecus. The first form was those who stood 4 feet and they could walk erect. The second form was the Java man, who was called the Pithecanthropus, meaning monkey man or ape man. The other species was Paranthropus. Then you had other types like the Neanderthal, who lived for 100,000 years and then disappeared. Then there is the Cro-Magnon, who's said to have roamed Europe 400,000 years ago, including Homo erectus and many other species in between. It says the Peking man belonged to the species who was here 500,000 years ago, long thought to be along the migration of modern man. The Peking man was a type of prehistoric man who lived about 375,000 years ago in what is now northern China. Members of the species Homo erectus, erect man, stood about 5 feet tall or 150 centimeters. They had a brain about twice the size of an Australopithecus. Most of these species of evolutionary man came from the ape family. Among the different species of ape man, you have the black-haired lyre. This is where you get the word lord or master from. The lyres, plural for lyre, were recognized for their intelligence. Okay, so let me back up a bit. Okay, this is in reference to a monkey. Among the different species of ape man, you have the black-haired lyre. This is where you get the word lord or master from. The lyres, plural for lyre, were recognized for their intelligence. These lyres were the head monkeys of spiritual monkeys. Well known, this is where the word monks came from. When the Anunnaki chose to breed by gene splicing these Gestu, one of the Anunnaki and Ninti, to breed the first mammal here, they were chose to breed with the lyres because of their high intelligence. The red-haired orangutan was also a very intelligent ape, and the brown and black-haired chimpanzees had the best brains on the scale of evolution. The orangutan is a large, rare ape. Some males have an arm spread of 7.5 feet, one of the largest of all the apes. The orangutan's arms reach to its ankles when it stands. The orangutan lives in trees and rarely comes down to the ground. But this is all very interesting information in reference to the eugenics programs that was conducted on this planet. Okay, so I find it very interesting. And oftentimes I'll read and I'll reread and reread the information. You know, sometimes I'll reread the information until it's fully stuck in my mental. And you know what I mean? And I'll go down the rabbit hole and ascertain other additional information and just try to make everything make sense, because there's so much on this planet that we haven't fully come into terms with, and we haven't fully learned yet. But one thing we do know is that we're elevating in consciousness. We're elevating substantially. All right, and this planet, everything on this planet, in regards to all the different beings and all the different entities on this planet, is a connection with other beings. All right, this whole thing was a testing facility. I just showed you how water beings was basically taking women. That's not in the Anunnaki story. That's not in the story with the Watchers either. All right, so there's so many different hominids on this planet. All right, some of you are made of different things. What book is that? This is the Holy Tablets. It's the Holy Tablets. Free Dr. Malachi Z. York. This the Holy Tablets. You know, but here's the thing. Here's the kicker with a lot of the things I was mentioning with the mermaids. It's going to be a situation now where, see, there's a story with this with the mermaid thing. Now I'm gonna go into a story. There's going to be a situation pretty soon where a lot of you start memorizing ancient memories. I mean, I'm talking about dreams of being in water. Some of you are aquatic beings in past lives. Some of you are aquatic in nature and don't know it and don't remember it. Some of you probably have dreams of underwater. Some of you were in Atlantis. Some of you were in Tartaria. Some of you were in Lemuria, all right, and have dreams of the mud flood or waters, all right, and were a part of that and just don't remember it, all right. A lot of you were a part of that, all right, in ancient Lemuria. Some of you, now here's the thing. There's a story about a woman was talking about how to delete. She worked with somebody who was basically capturing these mermaids, right? And basically, with the way she told the story, is they would capture these mermaids, and they had a company that basically does get fish, all right? And the company's called Trident, all right? They get fish and everything, but they have these deletes that pay millions of dollars to get these mermaids. Millions of dollars, all right? And they have special technology, sonar technology that tracks the mermaids. And it's the same. It's sad, right? And I really hate what they're doing. But they have sonar technology to track these mermaids. And when they track these mermaids, they lock them in a certain cage. And when they lock them in this thing, it has a blue gel substance that basically dematerializes the mermaid's body, all right? Now, the reason they do that is because the mermaid they basically have to prepare the body for these deletes when they basically serve them and stuff like that. The way the story go, one of the mermaids they captured, they stated that in an ancient language, it seemed like they was basically pleading for their life. That this mermaid was pleading for her life in an ancient language. They captured another mermaid. This mermaid was fighting. The mermaid allegedly scratched one of the guys, and when she scratched one of the guys, things start growing out of his arm. Where growth and things start growing. They was given a medicine to try to keep the growth down. Days later, he started having memories. Whenever the mermaid scratched him, it started making certain memories. He would see himself swimming. He would see himself using ancient mermaid language, ancient aquatic language back with these beings. And he will also start developing empathy for them, where now he would feel bad. All right, but he was working with this company that was capturing these mermaids for about 20 years. It's just now coming out. All right, but they've been doing this for years, and there's so many other cryptids. Now, when he stated that he went into the facility and seen this mermaid, it was so many other beings that he didn't even know of. He didn't even know what they was, what they even call these beings. All right, there's so much that these deletes are doing right underneath us that they're not telling us about. And they are in fear right now of this cosmic energy and what's happening. A lot of you are going to start waking up. A lot of us are going to start, ancient language is going to surface eventually too. There's times when I have magic mushrooms experiences, when I'm in these transcendental states of awareness where ancient language wants to come out of me so bad. A language that I don't speak wants to come out of me so bad. And I'm like, what is this language that I'm fixing to want to speak? This English language was forced on us. All right? It was forced on us. It's a spell casting language. All right? It's a language designed for spell casting. All right? And that's why they call it spelling or cursive. That basically is the personification of cursing and spelling. All right? And that's the real personification of cursing. You know, it's this English language that we've been using. All right. So as we ascend in consciousness, more and more of us are going to start remembering ancient languages or having ancient tongue, this ancient tongue that wants to come out of us all of a sudden. These deep, along with bunkers, should say a lot. Yeah, I mean, everything that they're doing with the bunkers and everything like that is all for the sole purpose of hiding from nature. The bunkers. They're scared of the sun. They're scared of the 2,700-year-old solar storm that was predicted on a cuneiform text. This solar storm was predicted, family. It's not no joke. It's not pseudoscience. It's not a lie. You can look it up. Look it up. When you get off this live, research solar storm. Massive solar storm predicted 2,700 years ago on Assyrian cuneiform text. I'm not making this up. I don't just say this because I like to say it. This is true. All right? And when this cosmic storm hit, your melanocytes is going to absorb and convert that light through melanogenesis. And it's going to enhance you. Now, it's going to enhance you contingent on how you take care of your body. Whether you're fasting. This is why I tell you to use chlorophyll. Why I tell you to detox the body. Why I tell you to go through the necessary steps to ensure that you're basically in homeostasis. And that you have healthy melanin. I live in Dallas. I swear, like 6 days ago, they sprayed a weird dust in the air. It was sunny outside, but somehow the dust blocked the sun. Runs its time to get a gas, man. Yeah, I mean, this is what they're doing. I mean, we expressed that their whole reason, aluminum is a refractant. All right, so when they spray aluminum, it's to basically refract the sunlight particles the opposite way. So you don't receive them. They're basically, do you know how much sunlight they're basically pushing the other way? This is the reason why the planet is going through, is trying to heal itself. And it's going through so many natural disasters. It's primarily because everything that they're doing is basically to refract the sun the opposite way, which is basically is not what's supposed to happen. They're heating up the atmosphere basically by diverting that sun. All right. And not only that, if they didn't cut all the trees down, the planet would naturally cool itself. They cut all the female trees down. They do everything to basically deplete the planet of all its natural resources. All right. And one of the things that is going to repair the planet, believe it or not, is us. We are the white blood cells of the planet. We are. Ancient memories will be restored to you to activate the planet and re-heal it. You listen, you know how white blood cells chase the viruses and the parasites out? This is what we're going to be doing. Believe it or not. We are going to activate. The planet is going to give us the necessary nutrients to basically activate us to heal it. That's what's going to happen. This is what's happening now. It's happening already now. We already in the astral plane are basically fighting this cosmic war. The War of Orion never ended. The war never ended. We're still fighting it. This is what you see now. While we all here, the ones that's congregating, you're fighting in the war in your sleep. You just don't remember it. This is the reason why you're intrigued with this information. Why you're reminding yourself who you are. It's because you are one of the soldiers in the Orion War fighting right now. The thing is, you just think that you're the body. You think that this is your only incarnation when it's not. Do you know how many times in my mind's eye I see myself in different alternate realities? I see myself in transcendental states of awareness, fighting the war, giving different classes, giving tutelage, learning also, receiving information from my star family and my spirit guides, teaching me different things, learning different things, how to activate all the chakras outside our auric field and all of that. These are things we're learning in the astral plane. My arm hurts so bad. Sorry to hear that, family. Very sorry to hear that. Oil of oregano is very good for pain. Turmeric, cayenne, ginger. These are things you can use. But oil of oregano has been something that has been a substantial change for inflammation and pain. You know what I mean? And it doesn't just work for eradication of parasitic organisms and things of that nature, but it's phenomenal for removal of free radicals, inflammation, pain, and things of that nature as well. More plants and healthy soil are going to restore the planet. We also got to get rid of the parasitic snakes and worms. What you mean parasitic snakes and worms? Anything on this planet in regards to animals is meant to be here. Some animals aren't, though. I'm going to be honest. Mosquitoes and certain beings were created through eugenics programs, but worms actually are good for the soil. Worms help the soil. It's a natural process with the soil. What about nutmeg and sage are very good for you. They have very good health benefits for your digestive system. Sage is very good for actually removing. Sage is very good for healing. A lot of people are unaware that sage actually is also good for healing the body as well as when you consume sage. As I rise, I notice how we are separated. Yes, we are very separated. The separation was induced solely to create division of the law of one, to basically keep us from Christ consciousness. That's pretty much what the separation is for. As we ascend in consciousness, we're going to notice that the whole objective for the deletes was basically to oppose the law of one. The Anuhazi, basically those beings that seeded the earth, the Elohim, those ones that had the concept of ascension to Christ consciousness. There's been a diversion by the Garabat or the malevolent beings. They also created religion. The malevolent factions of the Anunnaki are responsible for our descension process. All right. And these are, again, they are responsible for the descension process. All right. And keep in mind the reason why they reset us every 24,000 years. We're resetted every 24,000 years. We were more advanced in ancient Atlantis and Tataria than we are now. We aren't the most advanced than we ever been, guys and goddesses. It's important that you know that. All right. In ancient Tataria, they have free energy. They have free energy. All right. And we are a level 0 civilization for the sole purpose of to keep us in a state of anxiety, depression, grief, etc. And this is how the archons continue to eat and how they continue to maintain a food source. All right. And it's pretty much from keeping us in a low frequency. This is why it's very important to raise your frequency. A high frequency is more important than anything. Real talk. Activation of the Merkaba. This is why I had a Merkaba behind us. A lot of the orbs and stuff you see are individuals that are activating their Merkaba in transcendental states of consciousness and don't know it. Some of you are activating your Merkaba